collection of this couple right here. This is Ted and Lucille Weiner. Mr. Weiner ran an oil exploration company called Bridgemar Oil and Gas, which is still in business today. And the Weiners had a home over by Ridgely Golf Course, and it was just full of sculpture. It was their house was actually built around their sculpture collection. And this was in the early 60s. He had the finest collection of modern sculpture in the whole state of Texas. It was right here at Fort Worth, and Sam Caney knew that, so that's why he got them to help. But these are those little wooden pedestals, and they installed the Henry Moore and the Jack Zajac. And because we're actually looking into a mirror, you're seeing this double image, so it's kind of confusing. And you're seeing the room reflected back at you in the mirror, so now you can really see the TV set. You know, there's the Feininger, but this is all reflection. Here we are at just a different angle, but this is the Henry Moore and the Jack Zajac. And then on the coffee table, that's where they put the little Fellini. And then right here, that's where they put a couple of copies of that little catalog I showed you a minute ago, the one with the checklist. They just laid them there, and they left them there for the Kennedys to find. There were no labels of any kind. It wasn't like going into a museum where you got these pretty labels that tell you what you're looking at. It wasn't like that. There was nothing except the catalogs that were left there on the table. For Mrs. Kennedy, they decided to pick some pieces that would appeal to her love of French painting. She lived in France. She spoke French fluently. She liked French Impressionism. So in the master bedroom here above the bed, the big bed, that's where the Van Gogh went. That's where they stuck it. This is called Road with Peasant Shouldering a Spade. Now we'll look at it a little better. It was painted in 1887 near Paris, France by Van Gogh. It's painted in what they call a pointillist style. There's little tiny dots of paint that sort of construct the painting, and it was quite beautiful. And we had this painting in Dallas on the Dallas leg. We had the Van Gogh for 3.5 months, but we couldn't keep it. The owner wanted it back, and so we weren't able to bring it to Fort Worth. So I'm going to show it to you now so you can have an idea what it looked like. But it's really great. So that went over the headboard. That was so Jacqueline Kennedy would walk in there, and that'd be the first thing she'd see. Also in that bedroom, decorated for her, was a piece by Maurice Prendergast, who was an early American Impressionist, and he lived in Boston. And so that was kind of a good connection because of the Boston connection. And this is called Summer Day in the Park, and it was painted about 1920. This was from a private collection in Fort Worth. And then directly opposite the Prendergast, we had a work by Mr. Twatchman. He was also considered to be an American Impressionist. This is called Geyser Pool Yellowstone, and it was painted in Yellowstone National Park in 1895. Both the Twatchman and the Prendergast both came out of the same collection. There was a couple named Bill and Adelaide Fuller, and he was in the oil business too back then. For the president, what would you pick for him? We didn't know what President Kennedy liked art-wise. He wasn't really known as a collector. So they went with solid American themes. Charles M. Russell, and this is called Meeting in a Blizzard, painted in 1888. It was owned by the Carter Museum at that time. So this was installed in the small bedroom, and that small bedroom was decorated with work they thought would appeal to the president. The big bedroom was decorated for her, the little bedroom was decorated for him, and the living room was just modern, that they thought maybe this will appeal. This was in the president's bedroom, or the room decorated for him. It's called Sombrero with Gloves by Marston Hartley, who's an American modernist. Swimming by Akins. It's been in Fort Worth since 1925. It was the most important American painting in Fort Worth then. It's still the most important American painting today. So they took the best painting they could find, American painting, and that's where they installed it right above the bed, the little bed. That's where the Akins went. Right next to it was the Russell, and then opposite was the Hartley. And we see that little headboard that we saw in some of those other shots where you're looking in the door there, you can see it in the distance. The last painting that was installed in there was a work by a man named John Marin, who's an early abstractionist, and this is called Sea and Rock, Stonington, Maine, and it was painted in 1919, and this also came from a private collection in Fort Worth. Now, I told you Mrs. Kennedy was 20 minutes late. When she got up the morning of November 22nd, they hadn't realized at that point that the art was real. Neither one of them really understood it. They had been really tired and disoriented that evening when they got in so late, so they had gone to bed fairly quickly. And she didn't really understand until she walked into the living room, picked up one of the catalogs, and began to read it. Bang. She said, "Oh my gosh, this is all authentic art." And you know, when you think about it, I mean, give her a break. You don't find a missing man go in a hotel room. It just doesn't happen. But in this one occasion in Fort Worth, it did. It was the real thing. So Jacqueline Kennedy, I think, was late because she was looking at the art show. She wanted to take it all in. She didn't want to leave right that minute. What happened was when the Kennedys came back upstairs from that breakfast that we looked at a minute ago, by that point, Jacqueline Kennedy understood that the art was real. She'd had a chance to look at some of it. She was very excited by this. She told the president what had happened. He spent a couple minutes looking at everything. And they agreed together that they were going to call one of the organizers and thank them personally. So the catalog I showed you a minute ago, at the bottom of the right-hand side, there was a list of the people who put this show together, including Ruth Johnson. I think she was listed first. So the president said, "I want you to call this person. I want to talk to her." So he did. They did call Ruth Johnson. She was home with a daughter who was ill. She had planned to come back to the hotel that morning, but she wasn't able to leave her house because her daughter was sick. And the phone rang a little after 10. There was an aide asking, he asked her some questions to make sure he had the right person. And then he said, "The president wants to speak with you." I spoke with Ruth about this morning, and she told me that when President Kennedy came on the phone, she was just absolutely flabbergasted. She never expected to be speaking with him directly, and she didn't really know what to say, so she let him speak. And he thanked her for the art and for all the effort that had been gone to put that art in there. We then passed the phone to Jacqueline Kennedy. Mrs. Kennedy came on the line. She related the story that at first she didn't get the surprise. You know, it took a little while to get the surprise. And that she really didn't want to leave. She wished she could stay a while. Those were her words to Ruth. So in that moment, because of the art show and because of the way things transpired, that became the final phone call, the last phone call that President Kennedy ever made to any woman in the outside world, was to thank somebody for an art show. And it happened right here.